This is Trauma Recovery Anonymous, the podcast. My name is Richard and I'm your host. I took a week off from my podcasting just to take a break. It wasn't that I was burnt out or anything. I just felt that I got ingrained into my cause of Trauma Recovery Anonymous. Sometimes we can get very blinkered. We can't see the woods for the trees. It's my way or the highway. And I found that when I had depression, I was so invested in my depression at that time that I couldn't allow any family to get close to me. I couldn't be happy in front of my family or friends because that would undermine my state of depression. And same when I'm doing my podcasting, I'm very much focused on my message and what I carry, and anything else really isn't. If it doesn't adhere to what I suggest, then it really isn't right or proper. And so I decided I need to take a week back just to take a time out, just to kind of see life from a different perspective, relax and be at peace. And then I remember last week I saw on a social media platform, someone had written the words, "Mental illness is not a choice, don't try to tell me it is," in vibrant red and orange colors, very kind of challenging. And it really infuriated me. For someone who'd overcome depression, seeing something like this really infuriated me, because we have to understand there are two things we're talking about. Mental illness, I believe, is a state of being. It's a medical condition that can't be changed, and rightly so. It's not a choice. But I think what the person was speaking about, because it was on an anxiety depression page, is that a mental disorder is not a mental illness. And people say that they're both the same. They are not the same. A mental illness is an actual state of being. A mental disorder is a person's diagnosis of your condition. It's their opinion of who you are in that moment in time. When you go to see a mental health professional or any doctor of any kind for any medical condition, you will tell them how bad it gets. You don't go to your doctor and say, "No, I have a toothache, but all my other teeth are fantastic and great and wonderful." You tell them how bad that toothache can be. You talk about the pain, they're waking up at night time, the soreness. You tell them, you describe as much as possible the pain in that tooth so the doctor can get an impression of how bad it can get. And so then they focus on fixing that tooth, and they either take it out or they put a filling into it or whatever they do, and it's recovered and you're fine. You go to your doctor and you've got a broken leg, but the leg isn't hurting you in that day. You don't talk about your other leg being healthy and your arm's been healthy. You talk about how bad the pain can get in that leg at any one time. And then they work out the leg is broken and they do an x-ray and they find out how bad it is. They put it into a cast, medication, all that, and you recover. And the same with mental illness or mental disorder, I have to say. When you go to your doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, cognitive therapist, and you're reporting about how bad your depression or your memories can be or nightmares are, you're not talking about your whole day 24/7. You're talking about one period of time. You're talking about, there's times when I have nightmares and they can keep me awake at night. But during the day, the other 16 hours a day, you're functioning like a normal human being. It's just at night you're not sleeping well. But if you tell them all about this and how bad the nightmares can be, and they end up saying, "Well, no, you have depression or you have PTSD because of these nightmares," they're diagnosing you for your whole state of mind for 24 hours, not for the 8 hours only. They're not giving you a solution for your 8 hours sleep that won't affect the rest of your day. They're giving you medication and therapy to treat the whole person all day long. And now you have a mental disorder for life, and you're scarred for life by this diagnosis because it isn't your truth. When you go to a mental health professional, you describe how bad it can be. Perfectly normal behavior for any of us. For my depression, I told my doctor at the time how bad the depression was, and he gave me medication for the depression. And I ended up walking around like a walking zombie. I take the medication from morning to night, and I'd be a walking zombie. My moods would be dampened, my thinking would be affected, and I'd be very kind of placid, non-aggressive, withdrawn kind of person. But this isn't a state of being. I would get depressed at times, but there's other times I'd have wonderful moments of elation and joy and happiness and be a part of everything. But once I went down the road of believing I had a mental disorder, my life was over. I never was able to be a part of ordinary life again. And that's what happened with so many people who are diagnosed with mental disorders. If you're diagnosed with depression or PTSD, it's a permanent state of being 24 hours a day. you are now diagnosed as having PTSD, depression, and you get medication and therapy for this condition. And you keep being triggered by the therapist asking you, how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? And of course, it gets a negative response and you're worse again, and it's affecting you throughout your whole day. But if you go back to the first time you saw a therapist, you may have went to him for nightmares. You may have went to him for flashbacks. You may have went to him because certain people press your buttons, or you get irritated easily, or you can get angry at times. But it wasn't a permanent state of being. This is your truth. You weren't permanently insane. The idea that you grew up normal, as a normal human being, you went through school, high school, everything, and then you went off to fight in a war and you suffered a loss of innocence in that conflict, and you came back and you went for mental health professionals, they told you you're mentally ill. At what point were you mentally ill? Were you mentally ill when you weren't mentally ill in high school? Or was it that you suffered a trauma of someone else's mental illness, and that caused you a loss of innocence? And how can a loss of innocence be a mental disorder or a mental illness? Just doesn't make sense. You can't be the problem. You were the victim at one time, you're the survivor today, but you can't be the cause of it because someone else did this to you. Someone else or something else caused you to suffer this loss of innocence. If anyone's going to be diagnosed as mentally ill or have a mental disorder, it'd be the person who did this to you, not you. You were the victim and today you're the survivor. So understand, the idea of suggesting that a mental disorder is not a choice is a big lie, and it's hidden under the umbrella of mental illness. Mental illness and mental disorders are two separate things. You can't change your state if you have a mental illness, but the mental health professionals industry recently in a study admitted that 39% of people diagnosed with mental disorders were misdiagnosed. I believe that that percentage is much, much higher. It could be 90%. Because the diagnosis is made within 15 minutes of you seeing your therapist. So you go in to see a therapist and you paid $60 for a 1 hour session, and you need some sort of solution before that 1 hour session's over. So you describe to your therapist how you feel. And in that 15 minutes of that first meeting, they will come up with some solution for you that they think might help. So you tell them all about your depression and how bad it feels, your post-traumatic stress. You describe a situation that aligns with PTSD or post-traumatic stress or depression, and they say to you, yes, we believe you may have this condition. We have medication and therapy for that. We're going to put you on this. And once you buy that diagnosis, that's the choice. You've made a choice to give up your whole life to believe this lie that you are mentally ill, you have a mental disorder, when you don't have a mental disorder. I believe you have what they call a hole in your soul, a spiritual illness. In AA, they say a spiritual malady. Your spirit isn't right, because from your spirit, everything else comes. When you have a will to live, then you're filled with hope, and your thoughts and your feelings are all towards having a life and achieving things. When you have a broken spirit, the hope disappears and you feel this sense of no point in going on and life's not worth it, and your thinking and feeling take the same line. So all of our problems come from our spirit being broken or our spirit being nurtured. So you have a wounded soul. You have a hole in your soul, a broken spirit. And that's the problem. That's the cause. You've made the mistake of bringing an event that happened in your past into your present. And you're trying to process it in the present, but it didn't happen to you. It happened to your inner child. And your inner child doesn't want to be here any longer than it needs to be here. Your inner child suffered a trauma event in your past. It suffered, endured, survived, and overcame that trauma, so you'd be free today to have a life beyond their wildest dreams. They never asked, wanted, or needed you to fight their battles for them, and they don't have no desire to play happy families where you reparent them in your present. They don't want to be here. They want to step into the light where they can step into heaven, into the mansion prepared for them in a Father's mansion, where it's safe, where there's no harm or hurt. But to cross over, they need all of their baggage. And because you've given life to their dead thing in your present, and you're living it as though it happened to you, you've given life to the death, decay, and disease of their trauma, and it's destroying everyone and everything in your life. Look around at your life today and look around the carnage and mayhem caused in all your personal relationships with your partner, your children, your siblings, your parents, your family and friends, the ability to have a job, hold down a job, work with others, to play with other kids. It's all been destroyed because you brought the death, decay, and disease of a dead thing into your present, and you're telling the world that happened to you when it had nothing to do with you. It happened to your inner child. It didn't happen to you because you only exist in these 24 hours a day, and your whole life is in these 24 hours today. Your focus and attention should be on who's in your life today, what you can achieve in your life today. And that's your whole life. And anyone suggests you can go back and process the past, you can tell them to feck off. They're lying to you. The past is none of your business. If you could, in this moment, close your eyes, breathe into your nose only. When we breathe into our mouths, we aggravate anxiety and panic in our chest and stress in our shoulders. So sit in this moment, breathe into your nose only, exhale through your mouth, and then try to visualize your inner child sitting in front of you. And imagine them telling you the truth. Richard, what the hell are you doing? I can't cross over into the light until I have all my baggage, and I can't leave this plane of existence, which was a horror show for me, until I have that baggage. But you've taken my baggage, and you've given us life, and you're telling the whole world it happened to you. It didn't happen to you, it happened to me, and I want to leave this plane of existence. Please give me back all of my crap so I can leave and step into the light. However that conversation goes for you, you know this is the truth. The past is not yours, it never was yours, because it didn't happen to the person you are today. And you can't say there's an inner child within you, because your inner child doesn't want to be here. Your inner child was a child experiencing childish things. You're an adult experiencing adult things. You have to focus on your adult life today and leave your inner child have their life in a different time. Once you can see the truth of this and embrace this, you can be free. This program, Trauma Recovery Anonymous, is a 2-part program. It enables you to give the details and the baggage of the actual trauma back to your inner child. You see them stepping into the light, thanking you for giving them back their baggage. They leave this plane of existence and you feel the release in your body mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You'll know that hole in your soul, that broken spirit is mended, and suddenly you start being filled with hope and purpose and desire for life, and you know you are healed. That process takes 2 hours. The rest of your life takes the rest of your life. And the 12-step program of Trauma Recovery Anonymous is a design for living, a program that you put into your life every day for the rest of your lives. And the program is quite simple. Step 1 is, I am not a victim. I'm not the victim of what happened to my inner child. I'm not a victim of anyone else's behaviors. When someone else acts out, they're acting out for their own nefarious needs. It was never about me. If I wasn't there, they would have picked on somebody else. It's not about me. I'm no one's victim. That's your first line of defense. Second line of defense is you're not alone. You have therapists and you have books and audios and videos and all sorts of studies you can learn, libraries full of information. You've got your family around you can talk to, your partner, your children, your not young children, but any children you want to talk to that's healthy to talk to. Parents, adults, aunts, uncles, grandparents, friends, colleagues. There's someone you can always talk to. Don't keep it all to yourself. And then number 3 is, in this process, Trauma Recovery Anonymous, you're going to perform miracles on yourself. You're going to perform the miracle of gaining peace of mind, whether for 5 minutes or for 5 hours. I always claim 8 hours of peace of mind at bedtime. I cast out my demons. I tell the voice in my head to feck off for 8 hours, and I get 8 hours of peace. In that moment, I know I've just performed a miracle. So the 3rd step is embracing the concept of God that works for you, so you can claim more miracles. And then steps 4 to 9 is your own personal journey of house cleaning, of cleaning your side of the street, of taking responsibility for your behaviors, living a lie, saying people you have a mental disorder when you didn't have it, how you fix all that behaviors. And then 10, 11, 12 is you continue to do a personal inventory each day to show that you're not acting out as a victim. Step 11 is you practice prayer and meditation. So you meditate on prayer, and your prayer is your own prayer. So your prayer might be, today I am free of the past. And that's, you meditate on that feeling of what's it like to be free of the past, and that's your meditation. You meditate on prayer, not in silence, because we go crazy doing it in silence. You pick a prayer that works for you. You can take a Christian prayer and then maneuver it to fit you. So the lovely Christian prayer is, I can achieve all things through Christ who strengthens me. So whatever your all things are, write them down. And then you say, rather than saying I can, you say I am achieving, and then all things are casting out my demons, breaking free of the past, telling the voices in my head to feck off for 8 hours. Relationships with my wife, relationships with my husband, with my children, my in-laws, my outlaws. You write out your list of what the all things represent, and then you read them aloud. You say, I am achieving. And then you read all your all things, through Christ who strengthens me. And that's your meditation. And you may pick 1 thing or 10 things or all your list, and repeat that over and over again, and then meditate in silence, breathing into your nose on that meditation. Let it sink into your psyche what you are achieving today. And then step 12 is you carry this message to others. Once you experience the fruits of your labors and you see yourself breaking free of your past and you're a new creation, you tell others about this program, about this podcast, and share this podcast with everybody and anybody you know. Just don't even take a chance. Go to your contacts in your email, and attach this link to your contacts and send it to everybody you know. If you're in a support group, share with everybody in the support group. You can carry a message of hope to other people. When you experience the freedom from the past and you're free and whole and a new human being, you can then share that with other people. And then they have it and they start on. This is a very simple program for complicated people. The 2-hour healing event, Healing Any Trauma Memories, available exclusively on the Amazon platform, written by myself, Richard Tierney. And when you finish that, you embrace a 12-step program of Trauma Recovery Anonymous, available on Amazon and other platforms. And then you contact me at appointments@traumarecoveryanonymous.com, and I will take you through the healing event. There's a fee for that at €60 online, and it's €300 if it's FaceTime. So again, I can take more than one person at a time. So if there's you and a few of your buddies want to come together from your group, you feel safer in numbers, I can take you all at one time, or I can separate. The whole thing is we use one mantra for everybody. I don't need to know your story. I don't need to hear your sob story about what happened in the past, because it didn't happen to you. We use a mantra which says, up until this morning, I believed that I had to carry the pain and suffering of what happened to my inner child and his loss of innocence. But today, after listening to this podcast, listening to Richard, I realize it's none of my business. I've carried the memory of what happened to that inner child of mine. And if you can give that inner child a name and age, do so. And I carry sympathy pains for him, for his loss of innocence, or for her loss of innocence. And so I release him now with love and gratitude, freely and unconditionally. And that's the mantra we'll use through the healing event, the 2-hour healing event. And 2 hours later, you'll know the past is gone. You complete the 12 steps over 1 hour with me, and suddenly you realize your life is new. You're a new creation. You can start your life over as a normal, boring human being in the present. Only you can do this for you. Thank you for listening. My name is Richard Tierney, and this is Trauma Recovery Anonymous. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.